Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Courtside with Coach Crist. I'm Greg Crist, and this is Justin Harrison with me tonight. And tonight we are coming from Gino's, and we appreciate the Gino's folks allowing us to come in and broadcast from their pub tonight. And we look forward to bringing you the show. And I tell you what, Justin, we've been in the grips of the COVID again, so it's limiting our ability to get out there and cover ball games and that sort of thing, but we're doing what we can do.
Yeah, like I said, we weren't able to do a game this week with games being canceled, and it's just not looking any better coming up in the coming weeks.
Yep.
Most of the local teams are, like I said, Oak Hill still out another week or so.
Yep. And I like to explain what we're doing here on the show. We focus on high school sports, and we try to mix in a few other interviews occasionally just to make it a little bit more interesting. And I was discussing with someone today about the fact that when you're doing a high school sports talk show, it's hard to have stuff to talk about when there's no high school sports going on. So you'll have to bear with us through these COVID weeks and see what we can get going on. We don't know how that's going to play out. We know in our area right now it's starting to affect some teams, and there's been a lot of cancellations. I was talking to an official yesterday or day before who schedules the games, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he said since 1 o'clock he had 5 games canceled due to the COVID. So he was, they were worried about how it was going to affect them going down the road when they start trying to reschedule games and get officials for all these games. There's going to be games every single night.
Yeah.
And, I know, got to take that mask off just a second, catch my breath. We don't typically say a whole lot about who has COVID and all that, but we know, locally that some of the teams have been shut down. We know, my son plays for Oak Hill, so their team has been shut down until I believe it's the 23rd of March or 24th of March.
I saw maybe the 27th. What I saw on Twitter was going to be that's possibly the earliest.
Well, I think they their first diagnosis I think came on the 14th. Or the 13th, so
2/27.
Yeah. So the 27th be a couple weeks.
I believe Oak Hill girls, or they shut their.
Well, they've canceled.
Canceled they're not officially shut down.
I haven't heard that. I did hear that they're not allowed to play until next Saturday. So I don't know. I don't know what their situation is. They've been shut down already and had just come back. I think got a game in, and then the next day had to cancel, and they've canceled out until the end of the week or the weekend, from what I understand. I don't know if that's COVID related or not.
And Meadow Bridge just now getting on the court for the first time this week.
Yep, and they had a game immediately canceled. They were scheduled, I think,
Sherman,
to play Sherman, and Sherman had to cancel out. Sherman's now on remote, complete remote, and a lot of people having problems. Independence will be getting back, I think, early next week. They'll start back. I don't know about some of the others. I know Mountain View was having an issue. They were supposed to play Greater Beckley and Shady scheduled, I think, and then they had to cancel out. I don't know if that's
Greater Beckley had lost a game, and then Shady had lost a game, so they both picked up for tomorrow, and now it's canceled.
No, it's canceled.
I don't know who had the issues with that one.
Yeah, you never know which team it is, but I shouldn't get this going, but I think when you look back on this, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, they say, okay, we're going back to school 5 days a week with all the kids there. I'm not exactly sure what they expected was going to happen. I don't think it took a genius to figure out that this wasn't going to work out too good, and it's not. And I heard a superintendent from Hardy County who's back in the red now on the color map.
Yeah, they had a game canceled with somebody because they're in the red. I saw.
Yep, and he said today, they asked him, they said, what do you attribute, the rising cases to in your area? And he said, well, it's obvious. He said, there's 2 things. He said, one, the governor announced that they were taking away the restrictions for restaurants, bars. And he said people let their guard down immediately, thought, okay, it's over. And he said, and you send everybody back to school all at the same time and 5 days a week, put them all back in the building together. He said it's not rocket science. And he's pretty adamant about it.
This is, we're kind of trending in the same way as football season, but it's a different dynamic.
Yep.
In football season, they weren't playing as because of their county collar code.
Right.
There wasn't really issues with inside
right.
the actual programs themselves, and I think that equates to where they were more of a blended. Your classrooms weren't as big. The county collar, right now, I think if we were still in that blended mode, we wouldn't have as many games possibly being canceled
right.
due to that. Like I said.
Well, and I said, we didn't have the kids getting sick.
Yeah.
Like
it
you
wasn't
said,
much of a kids issue.
Yeah, it was a community thing, and we it was working. The kids weren't getting sick, and you weren't having to, shut things down because so many of them were sick. And I said, throw them all back in there together, and that's what's going to happen. And I just don't understand. And I've racked this through my brain, talked to people about it. Not that it matters what I think, but I just cannot, for the life of me, figure out why you would want to change that when it was working like it was. Yeah, just finish out the school year, know?
Everybody wants the kids in the classroom, but this isn't working when half the kids are having to be quarantined at home for 2 or 3 weeks. They're not getting any. Better at least going and getting those 1 or 2 days.
Yep. Yeah.
Versus now you're out 2 weeks and then
and
not getting any of it.
And that was consistent. It might only been 2 days, but it was consistent.
Yeah.
You knew you were going 2 days. You knew you were going to be off a day or 3 days, and then you knew you were going back 2 days. So it was consistent. Now, you don't know. You may go a day and then you're out. This is like Sammy was in class Monday. They go and pull him out of class and send him home.
He's home for 2 weeks.
And he's home for 2 weeks.
Learn on his own, not getting any in school.
Yeah, so I just like I said, for the life of me, I can't understand why all of a sudden they decided just to do that when it was clear it wasn't going to work. And like I said, get the school year over with. You got a couple months.
We're already to March. We get that 2 months left.
Yeah, you got a couple months. Just get it over with. It just absolutely made no sense to me why they did that. And like I said, now you're seeing the results of that. Unfortunately, I think it's going to keep affecting us, basketball-wise again, because you got a number of kids getting it now, and they're in those buildings together, spreading it around, and ain't going to be good.
It's a good transition to the topic that we talked about, is that a bill that made it through the House today that's going to be heading to the Finance Committee, and that's the extra year of eligibility for these students this year. That
had been mentioned back about 3 weeks ago, and then today the bill was introduced, and it goes some kind of committee.
It was amended and all. There was some age limits that was amended, and now it's going to head to the Finance Committee where, if approved there, it's still going to be the county-by-county basis, which I don't really agree with. It should be a statewide thing.
That's right. If you pass a law, because that's not going to be fair.
No.
You have some kids doing it and some not, and some counties not, and that's not fair to either side, really. And, I hope, if they pass it, to me, it's a law.
Yeah.
And, it shouldn't be up to the counties because, like you said, some counties are going to do it, some counties are not. And, that's not fair to, to kids. That's not fair to, either side, really. And I'm not sure how it would work out. We were talking about it before we went on the air, how it might be one of those bills where they pass it and then look back and say, oh, we didn't think about that. We didn't think about that. You got some issues you got to
because there's
play out.
Like you said, we talked about with the classroom. If you got a bunch of kids, some of these schools are already about to bust with students now, and then you don't really have enough teachers now to teach these kids. So is there going to be extra money in this and aid somehow for more teachers to teach the kids that are coming back for that extra year? Like I said, we really don't know the specifics on it. It said that they could repeat the school year and they could repeat a class that they already taken, I guess, to try to improve their grade.
Right.
So I'm not sure if it's going to be for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, or it's a bill more towards seniors.
Yeah, you don't really know. And the bill actually said any student.
Yeah.
So I guess probably wouldn't. I guess the fairness thing would come back if they just did seniors. That would be, that'd be unfair to the other kids.
These kids lost.
Yeah, they lost a year too. That's right. Yeah, everybody lost a year, and I'd be all for it. I know Sammy would. And, just mine for selfish reasons, for athletics, but.
Even education-wise, some of these kids they didn't get you didn't get a proper education.
Yep.
You can't really. That's just. It wasn't really safe to put everybody in the classroom. Yeah. So even educational-wise, I think it's a great thing. Now, you're going to have, especially with the seniors, you're going to have kids going into college that really aren't ready. And you're probably even seeing that with the seniors from last year that missed pretty much the whole second semester. I just wonder if there was some kind of study with how their grades, how they struggled their first year in college.
Well, on the flip side of all that, and we could spend a whole show talking about this. On the flip side of all that, the grades suffered and Sammy's grades suffered, but I'm going to tell you why. That program they're using, I'm not going to mention the name, but that program that they're using was not so much about teaching them as it was about volume. It wasn't about quality. It was about quantity. And, I recognize that from some of the lessons he had where, you'd have to define a word and you'd have to use at least 50 words to define it. Well, that's quantity right there, not quality. And
I'm sure you'll use that somewhere.
Oh yeah. And I just said, to have it work, and they keep talking about how it's just not working. It's just not working. Well, it's not. It's not that it's not necessarily working. It's that the program that they're using is not any good, and it needs to be more focused on teaching rather than making sure they have plenty of work to do. I used to argue the same thing when I taught school. It's not about how many homework assignments you give them or how much paperwork you compile on them or whether they can pass a test or not. It's about freaking teaching them something.
Yep.
Teach them something. And I always said do away with grades. We don't need grades. You're supposed to be teaching them something. You're not supposed to be passing them and failing them. You're supposed to teach them something. So, I don't think that's a good argument. As far as staying home, I'll tell you another thing that I question. And I've heard the governor say this several times. Keep talking about our younger kids. That's really who it's going to affect the most. And we got to get them back in school. We know how bad it's going to affect them on and on. And I'm sitting there thinking, how do you know how it's going to affect them? You've never been through anything like this before. And I'll be honest with you, I taught school for 32 years. I'll tell you how it would affect most of them. Not at all. It ain't going to affect them any. They're going to go right back and be just fine. They'll catch back up. They'll be just fine. Now, little ones, I never taught little ones, so I don't know. It may have an impact on them. I don't know. But there's no way to know that right now. And I said, you know what? COVID has a bigger impact on them and not learning how to write a R properly.
If you'd like to have more conversation about that, tune in next Tuesday to Classroom with Coach Crist.
Yeah, I get on rants about that stuff because it just bothers me that they keep saying all these things, and I know that those things aren't necessarily true, and then they throw them all back into school, and now my kid's sitting at home not getting to play because of COVID being spread, and I said when he announced that, I'm like, it ain't gonna work. I'll tell you right now, it's going to start spreading again, and sure enough, it has. Yep. And
you got spring sports starting up too.
Yeah.
I believe they all started practice this week.
Yep. And it's sad for the kids. I mean, that's who I feel bad for is the kids. They want to play, and if you do it smartly and would have done it smartly from the beginning, they'd all be playing right now. So they can brag about how they've handled this situation all they want, but in reality, they haven't done a very good job, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. And my opinion don't really count for anything. So let's get on with the show here tonight. We're going to have Curtis Miller, the head coach from Midland Trail. And, they've had, looks pretty fake. It's going to be better for them, moving up like that. I worried about it when it first happened, but after I looked at the teams and looked at the sectional and everything, I think it's going to be better for them in the long run. We're going to ask Coach Miller about that tonight. Also, we got, we'll talk to him about that game against Williamstown. We'll get his thoughts on that and on his team. And also,
I saw on that was the first time Williamstown had been beat by an in-state team since, I think, 2019. They hadn't lost to a West Virginia team since 2019.
Wow. I was waiting to see what year it was because I know we beat them in, I think it was 2011 or 2012. I was going to say, wait a minute, we beat them up there in the tournament.
It was the first win. I mean, I don't really agree with any of these rankings. They're about pointless, but it was the first win over a number.
Yep. We beat them up there in the tournament, in Work County's tournament, and we scored on the last-second shot. We ran a little play there and got a little backdoor cut and shot a layup and beat them. They got a last shot off, but it was half court. So, anyway, I was going to wait and see what you said. Anyway, Rusty Udy will be here with us tonight. Rusty, of course, does the segment Rusty Nails It. We'll talk to him in the last quarter of the show and see. He was down at State all week watching the games down there. He can give us a take on some of the Kanawha Valley teams, some of those folks down there.
A lot of good games down there. Yep. It was a good tournament.
Yep. And then one other thing, for the first time, we want to announce our Gino's Pizza Athlete of the Week. And this week, the committee chose the committee chose Jacob Perdue from Oak Hill, and last week Jacob in a game versus Hurricane, Jacob scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. Out of his 25 points for the game, he had 17 of them in the fourth quarter, led them to an 8-point victory over Hurricane. And then against Liberty a couple nights later, the Hurricane game was on Saturday, Liberty on Tuesday. Jacob hit a three-pointer at the buzzer and gave Oak Hill a 1-point victory over Liberty that night. So Jacob Perdue is our Gino's Pizza Athlete of the Week, and our good friend Lori Tabbitt will be presenting Jacob with a certificate for his accomplishment. Also, I think a coupon or two for a free pizza or a biscuit maybe from Tudor's. Not sure what all he'll get for that, but anyway, congratulations to Jacob Perdue, our Gino's Pizza Athlete of the Week. And I want to mention to everybody out there, if you have somebody in mind that you want to pick for Athlete of the Week, shoot one of us a text, me or Justin or Darren. You can do it on Facebook on the Courtside with Coach Crist page. You send a message on there if you want to. If you have somebody that you think might qualify for the Athlete of the Week, we'll put their name in the pile and see who gets picked.
Could be any sport at any level.
Right.
I mean, right now, like I said, we don't have a lot of high school basketball going on, but we got some middle school level.
Yep.
Got middle school level wrestling, high school wrestling. So anything in that had a good week, just let us know.
Yeah, if they're a volleyball player, cheerleader.
Volleyball.
Yep.
Is volleyball going?
I think they do now. I'm not sure.
Volleyball, I think, is a fall sport.
Is that a fall sport?
I think.
I can't keep them all straight.
Volleyball's a fall sport.
If they're a cheerleader, whatever.
Cheerleader, I know.
Any type of.
Like I said, I think state cheer championships coming up
coming
next
up
week.
Soon. Yeah. So anytime anybody you have might be interested in putting their name in there for the Athlete of the Week, make sure you submit them to us. We can't see everybody, so we don't know what all's going on. So let us know. All right, we need to get a quick break in here. I promised some of the viewers that we'd get Coach Robertson on early. Because the Greenbrier channel is going to switch over to a basketball game at Greenbrier East, and they wanted to see Coach Robertson on there before they went to the switchover. So we promised him we'll do it. So we're going to take a short 30-second break or so here, and when we come back, we'll have Coach Jerry Robertson from Greenbrier West. You're listening to Courtside with Coach Crist. Justin Harrison with me here, and you're listening on the Greenbrier Valley channel, Roku, and Facebook Live. So stay with us. We'll be back after these messages. Better system now. All right, welcome back to Courtside with Coach Crist. I'm Greg Crist along with Justin Harrison, and we appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. We promised you we would get Coach Jerry Robertson on here to talk a little bit about his Greenbrier West Cavaliers. I apologize to those viewers over in Greenbrier County who wanted to see and listen to Jerry for the whole time. They had asked us to get him on a little bit earlier so that it wouldn't, whenever they switched off to the basketball game, they wouldn't miss Coach Robertson. So that's my fault for getting on here and ranting and raving for too long, and now we've cut into his time. So with that being said, Coach Robertson, we appreciate you joining us. You guys had a big win the other night, last night in fact, over Williamstown, 67-66. You go to Tug Valley tomorrow. I'm going to throw this out there to you and let you just run with it, but I want you to talk about a couple of different things. First of all, I want you to talk about your schedule, how tough that schedule is and why it's as tough as it is. You made that schedule tough on purpose, and talk about your schedule just a little bit. And then based on what you've seen so far from the games that you've played, you've played far and wide so far, talk a little bit about the competition that you see in that A level and who you think you're going to have to contend with for that state title, because I think you're going to contend for one. I know you're going to say, no, we're not going to do that, but I want you to be honest with me. Tell me who you got to take out to get to there.
Yeah, we felt last year, we had a great year last year coming off a state tournament team from the year before where we'd lost a lot of kids. And we I think we were under the radar because we'd lost so much, and then we started out winning a bunch of games early, and our kids got confidence, and we had a really good year and won a lot of ball games, and then we got in the tournament and we got upset the first game. And as a staff, we kind of looked around and thought, we weren't ready for the tournament, and that falls back on me in a lot of ways. But this year we wanted to make sure that when tournament time would get here that we had played teams that had us ready to play, and with this 4-class system that we were hoping that we were at the level that we could be state champion contenders, and we wanted to get to our sectional tournament and know that we'd played teams that had us ready to go. So COVID kind of squeezed that together a little bit, and we've lost a couple of games with local teams, and we've been traveling all over the place. But every night it's been tough.
Yep. Well, we talked about that early in the show here about the impact that COVID's had on really our area, especially now. It seems like it's starting to take a lot of people out, but I'm not going to rant and rave about it again. But you throw everybody back into school 5 days a week. Not sure what you really expect is going to happen. It's not over yet, and I thought we learned back in the spring last year that just ignoring it and acting like it was over doesn't necessarily mean it's really going to be over. So anyway, you guys, like you said, you've played some really good basketball teams so far. Got some more on your schedule, and you don't have to act like you're going to contend for a state championship. But in that level, who are the other than you guys, who are the premier teams in your all's level?
Well, and locally in our region, I think we have the toughest Class A region in the state.
Yep.
When you look at the rankings and you see us and Webster County from our side both in the top 6 or 7, and then the other side has Greater Beckley, who some people had number 1, but they have James Monroe in that section who just
throttled them.
Put it on them pretty good the other night in their first meeting. So, right there's 4 teams right in our region that I think are probably all state champion contenders if you want to look at it that way. And then beyond that, our region has a lot of solid teams behind that too. Statewide, I think Tug Valley that they beat us by 2 in our first game a couple weeks ago that we're playing again tomorrow. They're obviously at the top of the state. Pendleton County had a phenomenal year last year. They've got a lot back. I know that they're going to be tough. The one I haven't seen is Man, who I think maybe was number 1 in the AP this week.
Yep,
I've seen their roster and know some of their kids from football, and I know what kind of athletes they have.
So, we've heard they're really good.
Off the top of my head, there's several really good teams in Class A.
Right. Did you ever give any consideration, and I'm sure you guys looked at it, any consideration to bumping up the class?
I didn't really. We actually weren't as close to the dividing line as what I thought we would be. We've lost some kids over the years, and then, the economic factor and the location factor all is. Charmco is not very close to anything, so that part kept us in Class A. But I'm curious to see how the 4-class system is going to go. I think it's a great idea. I don't think it's a perfect thing that we've put together so far, but I do think it's worth a couple years to see what happens with it.
Yeah, at least it's a start. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a start. It's not perfect, obviously, and I see some flaws in it, but those are the things you got to work out as the time goes on. And I think it is a start in the right direction. I think so. Hopefully, it'll work out, get better as we go. I want you to, for the people that haven't had a chance to see your team yet, we're familiar with your kids. We've seen them play a lot of ball over the years. But a lot of people that haven't seen your team, talk a little bit about your team and, what type of team you are, what type of team you want to be, what type of team you feel like you have to be in order to win a state championship.
Well, last year we kind of changed styles from, 2 years ago we were the biggest team around with 2 tall twins. And then last year we came back down to earth and really changed our style. We started full court pressing a lot.
Are you now known as Greenbrier Press?
Our kids love that expression.
I was going to say, I'm sure they've heard that a few times.
Right, and honestly, I kind of, maybe it's my fault. We went through last season, and they had to make a believer of me that they would buy in and play that way. So from last year to this year, we tried to take it up a notch. our fast break is much more aggressive than what it was last year. We're still pressing and half-court trapping and stuff like that a lot. We're probably going to play more man-to-man this year than we did last year, and even some full-court man-to-man. And our kids have really bought in. And I would say, through 3 games, the biggest reason for our success is our kids play so hard. And we don't always play great, and there's a lot of things that we can improve on, but it's just a hard-working team that has played together, and it's fun to watch, to be honest.
Yep. Well, and I know, from my coaching years, if you had people that played hard, wasn't a whole lot more you could ask for if they gave 100%, in their effort. That's usually what you want,
Absolutely.
And, can't ask for a whole lot more than that. Talk a little bit about your guys. I know you're fairly deep on your team, but I know you have some leaders as well. And I know coaches don't like to talk about specific players because you're always afraid to go leave somebody out. But I know you got a couple of guys that are leaders on your team, and one in particular. And I know that people would like to hear about that.
Well, Caden Pack was, I think, second or third team All-State last year. He's our leading scorer right now. He had a huge game out of the gate against Tuck Valley, and then we played Clay Battelle, and he had another big game. And we went and played the number 1 team in the state, and they come out in a box and won. So we faced a box and won yesterday for probably 3/4 of the game. And that he didn't score the first half, but we were tied. Right. And I think that shows what we have around Caden. I mean, he's definitely one of our leaders and a go-to guy that does a lot for us, but we have a lot of kids that can play. Chase Boggs is a kid that was kind of our surprise last year. He's probably our best pure shooter, and he plays up the front of our press, and he's not what I'd say is the quickest kid in the world, but he has such good hands and anticipation. He gets a lot of steals out in front. Lawson Vaughn is our returning post player from last year. He's about 6'3", and he played football the last couple of years, and he's got stronger and more aggressive. He's definitely our guy around the rim. And then we have a kid that I call him our glue. He's not a big scorer, but he plays in the post, and he's only about 6 feet. It's what he's listed, but that's probably on his tiptoes, to be honest. Chase McClung is just a super kid that, and I'm going to give him the credit. He played the way all our kids are playing now. He played that way last year every game, and I think he's helped that effort come out from all of our kids.
All right.
And then our 5th starter is a kid that is a new kid at West. He transferred to us this year, Brandon Oscar. That's a first left-hander we've had in several years. Coaches, we always like to have a left-handed guard. And
probably since Fitzwater.
Yeah,
huh?
He kind of struggled a little bit in our first couple games, but he's a kid that we know can play, and he came out yesterday and was our leading scorer against Williamstown. He just gives us a well-rounded starting 5, but it goes beyond that. We've got 3 seniors that come off the bench, Gabe Medlin and Evan McDade and Logan Shrewsbury, and all 3 of them have had big minutes for us already this year. And even beyond that, we've got 3 other sophomores that give us a whole lot of depth, and they haven't played a lot of minutes yet, but they're the 3 that I need to get in the game because all 3 of them can contribute too. So it's a luxury to have that many kids that can play.
Absolutely. And one of the key things is having that depth. That makes a big difference down the stretch when you get tournament time. So, all right, Jerry, we're going to let you go. We appreciate you being patient and waiting on us to call you up. And as always, we enjoy talking to you. You've always been kind enough to come on the show and add some insights, and it's always fun to talk to you.
Absolutely, Coach. Appreciate you having me.
All right, buddy. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Jerry Robertson, the head coach of the Greenbrier West Cavaliers, one of the better teams in our area and probably one of the better teams in the state, and I would not be a bit surprised to see them down there in a state championship.
Going to have a tough section and region to work through.
Tough section and region once they get through that.
But I think playing a tough schedule is going to get them prepared for that.
Yep. Yeah, and I've talked to him several times about the schedule, and he's talked about how they wanted to toughen it up a little bit so they could have that competition. That's what you got to do. You got to play those good teams, and that gets you battle tested. And in a year like this, you don't ever know. I mean, you may get ready to take on one of those tough regional sectional opponents, and they may get shut down. You just don't know. So you got to be prepared for anything this year, and playing that good schedule, I think, is really going to help them down the road. All right, let's get a quick break in here. When we get back, we'll get up with Coach Curtis Miller from the Midland Trail Patriots and talk a little bit about the Patriots basketball team, and look forward to hearing from Coach Miller. So we'll get us a break in, and we'll be back after these messages. So stay with us, everybody. All right, welcome back to Courtside with Coach Crist, Greg Crist, Justin Harrison, coming to you live from Gino's, the Gino's Pub here in Fayetteville tonight. And, folks, you ever get a chance to come out and get some good grub and a nice, refreshing drink, this is the place to do it. Good atmosphere. You can come in here and watch ball games. Got about 10, 15 TVs in here, and it's just a fun place to come in and watch some games. And the NCAA tournament cranking up, so you ought to get on over here and get you a pizza or some wings and dig in. And Justin probably will after the show's over. Right now, we're lucky enough to be joined by Midland Trail head coach Curtis Miller, and Coach Miller wanted to come on. I think he wanted to come in and be on TV, but I don't know what happened last minute. He had to do the phone interview instead. Anyway, Coach Miller's Midland Trail Patriot squad, we think they're 3-2. Now, there's been some, the schedules or the scores on there has flipped back and forth with that Sherman game at the debacle over there, so we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But right now, Coach Miller, we appreciate you joining us, and I'm going to throw a couple questions at you, just like I did Coach Robertson, and let you take off with them and answer those questions. The first one, you guys went, you were slated to be in the AA ranks, and you looked that over, felt like the AAA side was a little bit more favorable to you guys, so you made the jump to AAA. Explain your thinking on that, and explain how this move has affected your preparation, your style of play, that sort of thing. What impact has it had on you so far?
Well, when we looked at it, turned out to just be a big guessing game is all it was. They didn't really give us much info on what was going to happen, so
right.
We just kind of had to piece a map together and say, well, if we're double A, I think we're going to be here, and if we go to triple A, I think we're going to be here, and I got the blessing from the principals that if we wanted to move off, they would support our decision. And after just looking at stuff, I really felt like we was going to be matched with Bluefield in that section in double A, and and I thought, well, if we're stay triple A, just by the way old sections and regions were, I really thought we might get in with Nicholas and Herbert Hoover. So we moved up and crossed our fingers and hoped that would happen, and it worked out the way we wanted. So we're with Nicholas County, Herbert Hoover, and Sissonville now instead of Bluefield, Chapmanville, Mingo Central, which competition-wise for us, I think it worked out a lot better.
Yep, I think so too.
So I think it was the right move on our part now. I know people, they've asked me a lot of times, are you still sure that was the right move? And I always tell them, well, ask me in 2 months and I'll let you know. But
yeah.
I think we made the right decision.
Yeah, I think you just look at your guys. Justin and I were talking about here earlier, but you look at your section and your
some very favorable matchups.
Yeah. So we think that just looking at your section alone, it's a good move, because you get an opportunity to get out of your section, you don't know what's going to happen in the region. But if you don't get out of that section, you're never going to know. And looking at where your section probably would have been awful hard to get out of there. So I think, we concur. We think you make a good move.
And are you locked in there
everybody said before the season that Hoover was probably the favorite to win our side. So
yeah.
We opened the season with them and lost by 3 in overtime.
Yep.
So just that right there let me know that, yes, we made the right decision.
Right.
Are you locked in that AAA for the next 4 years?
What was that?
Are you locked in it for the next 4 years in AAA, or is that a year-by-year basis?
We're in AAA for these 2 years. And I guess when these 2 years are up, we can revisit and see where we're at. Hopefully the decision makers up there at the higher up realize that we probably shouldn't have ever been moved up in the first place, and we can go back where we belong.
Yep. Well, I said, I think this helps a little bit. I think it's a pretty good idea on the basis of it. I think there's some tweaks that need to be made, some things that need to be fixed in it. But we were looking at the single A side of things, and it basically looks like the hit tournament with Greater Beckley thrown in there in it. So, I think for all intent and purposes, it's probably a pretty good idea. But again, it's like I think we talked about it last year. We talked about the fact that some of the things that went into them putting you in a class were things like your
closest to a county seat.
Yeah, proximity to a county seat and biggest town, all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking, I wonder if they've ever been to Hico.
Yeah, I mean, between we've never been to Hico, and before this was ever released, I was pretty 99% confident that we would stay in single A, and I still remember the day it was released. Our athletic director come and told me where we were at.
Yeah.
We were going up, and I called him a liar, told him he was joking, and I saw it for myself, and never imagined that being so close to Fayetteville would move us to a AAA school eventually, because, they're so overpopulated there, and we're pulling so many athletes from there. So
I think it should be proximity to a Dollar General. That'd probably be more accurate.
I think everybody in the 3 counties would be 4A if that was the case, because there's a Dollar General or 15 feet.
I was pretty mad when that first happened. So just trying to make my point across, I told everybody we got bumps because we had a Dollar General and Lookout and one in Ansted, so that's the determining factor for us.
Yep, $2 General. So you guys are 3-2 right now on the year. We'll talk a little bit about the controversial game with Sherman. For those people that don't know, come down to a last second shot, if you will, not really last second, but in the waning seconds. And Sherman came out of a timeout. They had 6 players on the court. Nobody caught it, and they scored the winning bucket. They also had 6 players on defense, and you guys missed an opportunity to score the winning bucket. Justin and I discussed that too as well before we came on the air. what we've come to, and we want to know what's going on here, but what we concluded was, you have an assistant coach for a reason. And I said, in my days, if that would have happened and you'd have been there, I'd have been awful upset with you if you hadn't caught that. So we want to know how many game suspensions, does Coach Noah Sparks get for this debacle and this oversight on his part?
I think we left Southwest Virginia, and by the time we got to Marmette, I was finally ready to talk because I was so mad. And I told Noah, I said, Coach, I'm gonna have to let you go. I was like, that's just inexcusable, man. I'm like, so tomorrow, I was like, don't even show up for practice. And I think he got a little bit happy. I think he's ready to go golfing. I thought he did. I'm just joking.
Yeah, well, I know I used to say all the time whenever Diane Bloom would get on me about something, I'd say, what are you going to do? Force me to sign a 5-year contract? Because you get on to me about something, I wouldn't have threatened to quit because that's what they all want. You're going to make me stay here for 5 more years. That's going to be your punishment. Anyway, you guys, you're 3-2 on the year, and I've seen you play. Of course, I saw you play Summers County, and it wasn't a very competitive game. Talk a little bit about your team so far, what you've seen from your team, and what you expect from your team going forward.
Well, the game y'all saw was a good win for us, but winning by 52 is never a good thing, especially when you're dealing with 15, 16-year-old kids.
Right.
I had a bad feeling going into the Sherman game after that, just because usually when you're dealing with kids, you win a game by 52. Right. It's hard to keep their mentality straight.
Right. Yep.
And we went up there, and, we did not play good, and then that big incident happened, I talked to Coach Pauly after the game, and, a lot of people would, it was all over social media. So a lot of people, downing me for not catching it, which was, I should have caught it. A lot of people downed him saying he did it on purpose, which that wasn't true.
No, nobody's going to do that.
I think when you watched the video of it, you could tell that they didn't have any idea either. Nobody had an idea. And but you could tell by watching the video, he didn't do that on purpose.
He offered, we talked the next day on the phone, and he felt bad about it. He offered to give us a forfeit win, which I was like, absolutely not. We went up there that night. I think we had 16 turnovers and shot 8 of 22 from the foul line. So we didn't really deserve to win.
Right.
That game wasn't decided because of that play, but that sure sticks out like a sore thumb.
But like you said, to me,
the game against Summers County, we shot really, really well, but there wasn't much defense played that game, so it was hard to get a good read on, what we're doing. But we got some guys that can shoot this year, so that helps out a lot because the last couple of years we haven't shot the ball very well. Right. So when you struggle to score 40 points the last couple of years, and it's accomplishment if you get to 50. This year we've been over 60 every game, so we're shooting the ball a little bit better, so that helps out. We're trying to play more up-tempo this year. We got about 9 or 10 guys that we rotate in, but when we bumped up to AAA, I decided it probably wasn't the best move for us to continue playing a zone. So we decided since we had enough guys that were quick and could play that we would play more full-court style game, but we're still working on that. Our purpose in playing the full court style wasn't to get 20 steals a game. It was just to speed people up, make them uncomfortable. But we still foul an awful lot, so we're working on that right now. When we stop fouling and can keep players in the game, I think we'll be all right. But we've got in foul trouble a lot the last couple games. It's hurt us a lot. So.
Yeah. It looks like your schedule toughens up a little bit too as you move on through, depending on COVID. Got games against a couple games against Greenbrier West, a couple games against Independence mixed in there, a game against Man. Should be some good competition. So it looks like your schedule toughens up a little bit here in this second half of the season. I don't know if that was by design or if that's just the way it worked out. But we were talking about the COVID earlier. I don't know. Of course, we don't talk about individuals or anything like that. But I know my son's team is shut down right now because of it, and I know a lot of teams are having issues right now. You guys looking at any problems as of this time? As far as teams you've come in contact with, I know Sherman is shut down. Anybody you guys have come in contact with or having problems, or are you guys experiencing any problems of your own?
Well, I told our boys, I said we played Sherman, and then 2 days later, half their team got it. Oak Hill shut down. Nicholas County shut down.
Yep.
Don't leave your house, guys. But, we talked at the beginning of the year, to think that it wasn't going to happen was unrealistic.
Yep.
It was bound to happen when you threw everybody back in school at once.
Yep. That's exactly what we said.
What expected would happen, but
that's exactly
it's going to happen.
Yep.
So, and we can't. And sometimes when it does happen, we use basketball as a scapegoat for that. But it's not really basketball's fault.
Right. That's right.
But yes, we're starting to get some of our own problems with it. So fingers crossed that we're not going out for 2 weeks, but it could be coming. And I've got kids out contact traced from school, so. It's just a nightmare, but like I told the boys at the beginning of the year, I said we had 18 games scheduled. If we would get 12 in, that would be a great season because eventually it's going to happen. And like I told them today at practice, if it comes out and we have to miss 2 weeks, I would rather miss those 2 weeks now than it happen in April and you don't even get a chance to play in the tournament.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. At least you get over it now, get through it now, because again, it's going to happen. Like you said, and we said this at the beginning of the show, you put everybody back in the schools together 5 days a week. I don't know what you expected to happen. And, now it's happening. And I think hopefully, like you said, get it over with now. And then maybe down the road when it comes tournament time, you don't get impacted as much and doesn't have that big of an effect on you in the long run. So hopefully that's the way it worked out. Well, listen, we're going to get off here, run a little short of time. We appreciate you taking some time to join us and give us a little insight into the Patriots. And I'm sure we're going to be over covering some more games as if the schedule allows. If we're actually getting to play, we'll be back. So we appreciate you, Kurt.
All right, man. Well, thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. Good luck to you. All right, Curtis Miller, the head coach of the Midland Trail Patriots, and like Coach Miller said, that it's bound to happen. Maybe it's not a bad thing that it doesn't happen now.
Like you said, you're heading to get it over with now, and those things. That way, when it comes time to sectionals and regionals and stuff like that, you got a full healthy team.
Yep.
We've seen them play. They got good guard play.
Yeah.
I think
they're a pretty good team. Yeah.
They're just not your typical AAA team because they don't got the size that most AAAs do. But they work well. Like I said, got good shooters. I saw John Paul Morrison. He's leading the area. He's got 22 threes in 4 games. Had 8 the other night. We're thinking that may have tied the school record, but we're not sure.
We can find that. Yeah, I think it did tie the record of I think Jeremy Cart had 8 at one time. I think
did Jeremy still have the season record, or was that broke? I know it's 60. I believe almost think 64.
I think it's his. Yeah, I believe.
So he's got sure. Normal season, he may have a good chance of breaking it, but if you don't get
not going to play enough games. Yeah, that's right. All right, let's get us a quick break in here. We got time in our last segment for our good buddy Rusty Udy. It's going to come on and his segment called Rusty Nails It. Have Rusty talk a little bit about some of the games that he's watched this week, and he always has good insight and always good information on the teams all over the place, and not just basketball, but every other sport known to man. If there's a game going on, Rusty's usually there. So I was surprised when I talked to him this morning. He said, I'll be sitting home not doing anything. I couldn't hardly believe that because that don't happen very often with him. So give us a break here and get us a quick one in, and we'll come back and we'll talk to Rusty. You're watching Courtside with Coach Crist along with Justin Harrison. We're here at Gino's, and Justin getting ready to dig in some good-looking wings right there. You guys want to come over and have some good food. This is the place to come watch some ball games. Got all kind of TVs in here.
Food comes out quick, too, because I ordered it thinking, it should be done by about the time we get done, and she was back before we were halfway through that segment.
It took about 15 minutes.
If that.
All right, let's get us a break in. We'll be back after these messages. Stay with us, everybody.
being canceled.
All right, hold on there just a minute, Rusty. I got Rusty Udy on the phone with us, and me and him sitting here chatting during the commercial, and the commercial ran out on us, so I had to interrupt him and be rude. We were just sitting here talking about the COVID and how it's impacting schools, and how we got an all call from the Fayette County Superintendent today talking about keeping kids home if they're just sniffling or whatever. So it's really getting bad. And then we were discussing back in the earlier days, we had absenteeism at its highest, and it's just been a mess. And I'm afraid we're headed for the same fate as football. The only bright spot I can see for our local schools here is that it's happening now, and maybe here in a couple of weeks, maybe things will smooth out a little bit, and they'll get to playing, and we might make it through tournament time. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, I am joined now. I'm tickled to death to be joined by Rusty Udy. Rusty, of course, does our segment we like to call Rusty Nails It. And Rusty, I know you spent a lot of time down in Charleston this past week. So as always, like I always do, I'm just going to throw it to you and let you take off and just tell us what's going on around the state, who's standing out to you, who's making an impact, you think. And then if you want to talk a little bit about the COVID and what's going on there statewide.
Pretty decent that, I had said, early in the year, and several people had good, and there's no doubt about it. But, James Monroe is really good. Mount View's good. Greenbrier West is good. Webster County, watch all those teams. So I've seen them all play. I watched them several times last year, and they've got Shad Savage is one of the best shooters in this area, and he legitimately can shoot it from the three-quarter court line. He is just like lightning. And then I think it's Eli Allen. Yeah, he had 13 points, 16 rebounds against Greater Beckley the other night, and they kind of took it to Greater Beckley. But they did play it at Linside. But that's crucial now because the Greater, we're looking at a section where, who knows how many games are going to get played and who's going to, play each other and things like that. When they start seeding those things, I'm telling you, trying to beat James Monroe and Linside is as tough as trying to beat beating anybody anywhere in the state.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
That's a big win for them, and that puts the other teams a little bit behind the eight ball. So, I think, on the other side, the Greenbrier West is. I've said that I thought they were going to be really good this year. That this week was the first time I really got to see the Oscar kid play, and that kid's a talented player. He really complements that team. And Jared's just got an old school Greenbrier West team down there. Those kids, they play hard.
Yep.
They hustle. They're blue collar.
Jerry earlier, and he told us, he said one thing he said about his kids, they play. Like I told him, you get kids that play hard, you're going to be decent.
And I think just about a week or so ago, it beat the confidence. When you get kids confident, we've always said Region 3 was one of the toughest in the state, no matter the class.
Right. Be back in the old days when you had Woodrow and Oak Hill playing in the same section, and somebody always got left out. It's going to be kind of the same way with that. You're going to have some awful good teams that get left out. But that that's what. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, Justin and I, and the fact that whoever comes out of some of these regions, especially that one, is going to be probably the odds-on favorite to win it all. Because once they
and Tug Valley and Tulsa over there, and those three teams are in the same section.
Right.
So one of them is definitely getting the boot out of there. So
Yep.
those and Region 3, Region 4 is going to be really tough for those teams up north to handle this group down here this year.
Yep, I agree with you. What you got on the agenda this week? Anything exciting?
I'm going to go to hopefully Meadow Bridge tomorrow night. I get to see Curtis and the boys from Trail for the first time, and I always love going to Meadow Bridge. There's always such good people down there. And,
yep.
Just so happy when you come down there. It's just amazing.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of schools are like that, but it's fun to go down there. It kind of makes me, go back in time a little bit because, the school's been there a while, and, I kind of remember how things were when I was in school and stuff like that. So, it's just fun to watch. And it's a Fayette County rivalry game. I know, Curtis and Bunch is playing pretty good right now and probably, maybe a little bit favored in that game. But, hey, when it's Fayette County battle, you never know, especially down at Meadow Bridge.
That's right. Yep. Could be an interesting. That should be a good ball game. And I know it's kind of hard to plan out much of a schedule when you don't know for sure who's going to be playing, when and where.
Yeah, that's it. I was listening to the Magnolia broadcaster yesterday when I was down there, and that's what he said. That we are tentatively going to be playing at this date, but as you know, it's day to day. So
and
it's just
one of the other problems is and I've seen this happen several times already. They'll lose a game, they'll get a game scheduled back in its place, and then right when they get ready to start that, and the next day they lose it. That's happened 2 or 3 times here with Greater Beckley, Meta Bridge. It happened to them, and I said, man, you just don't know. But again, I think around here it's starting to hit a little bit hard around here, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But
a few teams made it through that, and I thought we had some pretty legitimate state champions in volleyball. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I know for a fact that Greenbrier East had one of the best teams in the state, and they really got hit with quarantine and different things like that right at the end of the season, and I think it may have cost them a legitimate shot at making a state tournament run, because they had a really good volleyball team. But when you just can't play, it changes all your rhythm. And you know how it is in basketball. You coached before. Yep. You go play for 2 weeks. You're not going to go out there and play very good.
Right. Well, not only that, when you're scheduled to play Meta Bridge, so you prepare for that in practice the day before, and then the next day you find out you're not playing them, and you're going to play, whoever, Montcalm, and you got to prepare for that, and you don't have time to prepare. That makes a huge difference too. I mean, that's hard on coaches, hard on kids, and but the kids are just happy to getting to play. I guess that's the way all of us feel. We're just glad to get some games in. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully we can get this behind us here before 2 minutes longer and get some semblance of normalcy. That would be nice.
That would be real nice.
I'm tired of being abnormal.
Exactly.
I've been accused of being that for a long time, but I'm just.
I don't think the pandemic has anything to do with being abnormal.
Just to be able to, if the kids could just concentrate on playing basketball, and going to school, and doing their just normal lives, I mean, that'd be great for them, especially.
Yeah. It's been tough. I'll tell you what, it's been tough. I know from firsthand experience how bad it's been. So,
I bet. I know.
All right, Rusty, we appreciate you as always coming on here and talking to us just a little bit. We got to start getting you on here just a little bit earlier, so we got longer to chit chat. But we'll work on that. Our timing's a little bit off. We're not used to doing TV. We're used to doing radio, so it's a little bit different. We got to do things just a little bit differently. So.
Exactly.
And we have some time parameters too we got to stick by, which we're not very good at that either. So, but anyway, we'll start getting. I might start doing you right at the beginning. That'd be the thing to do, and then that way, if you take up the whole show, you take up the whole show.
That's right.
But I know
we'll talk forever.
Yeah, the same with you as with us. We were talking though. We said when you're doing a high school sports talk show and there's no high school sports going on, it makes it awful tough to do.
It's hard. That's what I've told people. It's hard to cover sports when there's no sports out there.
That's exactly right. Well, Rusty, again, man, we appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be able to get you back on next week and talk to you again. Hopefully there's some news to talk about other than COVID news.
Exactly.
Yep. All right.
Maybe we can just start talking sports again.
There you go. All right, Rusty, we appreciate you, buddy.
All right, buddy.
All right, talk to you soon.
Greg.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Rusty Udy there with us. Rusty nails it, and we're about out of time. You heard Rusty sign off right there. We're about out of time here, so we just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Again, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here and fighting the noise in the background, that sort of thing. But a lot of fun here at Gino's tonight. And again, we want to thank Gino's for allowing us to come in here and do the show from the pub. And we would encourage you to come out and get you some good hot wings, good pizza. You can't beat their food here, I'm telling you. It's good grub. So again, we appreciate them for having us. We'll have our athlete of the week again next week. We'll get that picked again. If you have anybody you would like to throw in there, cheerleader, doesn't matter. Girls basketball, boys basketball, middle school, doesn't make any difference. If you got somebody that you think is deserving of the award, please let us know. Either send us a text message or Facebook us, or get on our site there and Facebook us and let us know. Give us a message and let us know who you're thinking about. Again, we can't see everybody, and well, the limitations on what games you can go to. You can't hardly see anybody.
There ain't no games to go to either.
There's not any games to go to. So, let us know. Let us know who these kids are. We want to make sure we get the kids recognized and get their names. I'd like for you to get a hold of a few other people and let them know what we're doing here. We're doing this for the local youth and the local players, local athletes, and we hope that everybody will be supportive of that. We can't really give you a plan of what we're going to be doing for the rest of this week and next week, as far as we're still scheduled to play and get a game scheduled and let you know. Channel on this, Courtside with Coach Crist, also Facebook Live, Courtside with Coach Crist, and then Suddenlink Channel 5 in Lewisburg. We carry the games there as well as this show for the most part, most of the time. So appreciate all of our guests for joining us tonight. Jerry Robertson from Greenbrier West, Curtis Miller from Midland Trail. I appreciate those folks. And Rusty, of course, as always, good to us. Justin, appreciate you, and enjoy those wings. They look awful good. And again, thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. We look forward to talking to you again next Thursday night on Courtside with Coach Crist. I'm Greg Crist for Justin Harrison. Have a great evening, everybody.